Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday, June 30th, 2024, right on the cusp of July. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Now Mind You podcast. Bow, 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 bow. This is episode 118 Combat. We are all here. We are your hosts. I'm TJ.
I'm Matt.
I'm Bryce.
As far as announcements go, same old, right? As far as the docket for today, Matt will take us into the main event of Teofimo Lopez versus what was his first name? Claggett's first name.
Steve.
Steve Claggett, right? And then after
Mhm.
that, as a crew, we'll get into the main card of UFC 303 that took place at the T-Mobile Arena, Pereira versus Prochazka 2. Without further ado, Matt, take it away.
All right. So we had Teofimo Lopez, our current reigning WBO and ring light welterweight champion. Um, he was going up against Steve Claggett. Teofimo's coming into this fight 20-1. That one loss being to George Kambosos back in 2021. Since that time, bounced back, got a TKO victory over Pedro Campa, and then he went on to beat Sandor Martin, Josh Taylor, and Jermaine Ortiz, all by split and unanimous decisions. On the other end, you had Steve Claggett, a guy who's kind of had a little bit of an up and down career, but is certainly a veteran. He's 35 years old, coming into this fight 38-7, with 26 KOs. He's only been stopped once, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. He was actually coming into this fight streaking. He was coming off of a 9-fight win streak that
Okay,
included
cool. I'm glad you clarified that because I was like, nigga, what?
yeah, yeah,
Came
man. He
into
was,
the fight. How? No, I'm joking. Sorry.
yeah, man. He came in. He's coming in off a win streak, having won his last 9 to earn his way up to this title shot. So pretty much more or less, we know that Teofimo is a fantastic athlete based off the fact we see him do all those fucking flips and shit like that.
Mhm.
And also just with his style, the way that he's able to get in and out and use like those leaping hooks. And he has really good reflexes, stuff like that. And I felt like in a lot of ways, this fight was a bit of a showcase fight and just a little bit of a way to get Teofimo back on the horse. And I've kind of been a little up and down on Teofimo, but I'm being clear in saying what has changed my mind. He has done a good job in kind of changing my mind about him a little bit as far as my perception. And what I mean by that is not that I perceived him to be a bad boxer or anything like that, but Teofimo, if he's ever been accused of anything, he's been accused of being inconsistent in terms of his performances. And that actually isn't even something that started until a little bit after he had become a world champion.
Hmm.
And an argument that I heard him make in an interview he did recently was like that he did fight, he has at least also fought tough guys. So as far as those things are concerned, it's like, you're not going to always look amazing every single person you fight, which is true. Sandor Martin's not an easy guy. Josh Taylor, he kind of dismantled him. And Jermaine Ortiz isn't an easy fight, really, for anybody. He's a tough guy to look good against, too. But irregardless, he needed to kind of make a statement a little bit when it came to this guy, Steve Claggett. Now, like I said, even though Steve Claggett isn't an extremely heralded guy, he is on a 9-fight win streak. Come through, and he's just the type of guy that comes forward, throws a lot of punches, moves his head, but you don't have to look for Steve Claggett to fight him. Now,
Hmm.
early on, he was able to push Teofimo Lopez back towards the ropes, but very early, Teofimo and his team found the uppercut to be an extremely useful tool um, when it came to his fight against Steve Claggett. Teofimo pulled back off the power and focused a little bit more on his speed and the speed of his strikes. He's already a relatively accurate guy, but he focused a little bit more on speed and volume. And he was able to pretty much pitch a shutout against Steve Claggett.
Hmm.
Hurt him multiple times with an uppercut. And shout out to Steve Claggett for staying up on his feet and ultimately for being a relatively tough guy. Overall, this was It was a unanimous decision victory for Teofimo. It was a good victory for him. He looked good. He actually broke some records for himself. It's the most punches he's ever landed in a fight, most punches he's thrown in a fight as well. Overall, it was a good performance for Teofimo Lopez, who actually is also talking about right now trying to move up again. He wants to move up to welterweight and try to fight Terrence Crawford, from what I understand. Also, in important boxing news, and I'm not going to go through a whole thing and break it down, but Bam Rodriguez was able to stop Juan Francisco Estrada last night with a body shot in the 7th round. So it's another Hall of Famer that he's put on his resume. And even though Estrada is a little bit older and definitely was in the twilight of his career, he was still a current champion. And if you can ask everybody that's ever fought Estrada how done he is. I'll just put it like that. One thing I'll give him, and this is the last thing I'll say before we jump over to the UFC. It's one of my favorite things about Juan Francisco Estrada is he has beaten everybody he's ever fought. Now, what does that mean? Oh, he's undefeated. No, he's not undefeated. He's lost, as of last night, 4 times. Everybody he's ever lost to, he has rematched. And if he hasn't TKO'd them, he beat them. And he usually TKOs them when he gets it back. But he has avenged every loss on his record. And not like, oh man, that was close that time. It's like, oh, he whooped his ass. That's crazy. Like, Juan Carlos Sanchez beats him in 2011 in May. And this is something that would probably make Andre Fialio blush. He beats him in May of 2011. Juan Francisco Estrada fights 1, 2, 3, 4 more times that same year. And he fights 4 more times that same year. And in a 5th fight in that same year, rematches the guy that beat him in May. I need you to understand.
That is insane.
He fought this man May 14th, 2011, and he ran it back December 17th, 2011, and he fought 5 guys in that time. Lost to Chocolatito. That took him a few more years to get back, but he did get that one back because they just didn't cross paths again for a while. But he got that back. Lost to Cirkset Rungvisai. Got that back off Cirkset Rungvisai. And he had a trilogy with Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, and finished that. So Bam Rodriguez should just move on, because if he fights Estrada again, he might lose. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's go to the UFC.
All right, but Bryce, you want to take us into the opener?
Yeah, so we got Anthony Smith.
Oh my God, Bryce!
Hilarious. Listen, let us handle that fight. Let us do that.
Okay.
I don't even think we should ask you for commentary on that fight.
This nigga went in unprompted.
I was just trying to help the team. My bad.
No. But let's get into it. So UFC 303 welterweight fight. The opening card, which opening fight was Ian Machado Gary versus Michael Venom Page, MVP. I think this fight kind of sums up the card a little bit. I think a lot of people had a lot of expectations going to this card, but it was cool. It was cool. Some high moments. Most of all, it was just kind of it was okay. So welterweight fight between Ian Machado Gary and Michael Venom Page, as I said. Michael Venom Page having the experience being like a karate fighter, and Machado Gary kind of both of these fighters are known for being good on their stand-up. Except Michael Venom Page, he's just known for kind of keeping his distance and taking advantage of that unpredictability, getting his strikes, and then getting back out there. Ian just being all around good, and he's so lengthy. He was even pretty.
Relax, man. It wasn't that egregious.
What we were very curious about this fight. Was it going to be just kind of more hands-on, or where Ian gonna take a more jiu-jitsu route?
Mm,
Starting off, Michael Venom Page was choosing his moves very carefully. I don't think it was working as much at first. But then I feel like he started to kind of change it around a little bit, kind of keep himself in like a little bit closer to Ian, and then he
mm,
was able to get those shots in. Um, Ian wasn't, from what I remember, wasn't really getting a lot of good shots on MVP. It looked like MVP definitely had the advantage on the stand up area. I think that's when Ian decided to go to the ground game.
mm.
In the first round, Ian does get the takedown on the cage, and he holds Michael Venom Page for a good while. I want to say at least a good minute and a half on the ground. Um, though Michael Venom Page did get the better shots in that round, um, I still had to give that round to Ian Gary. Second round, I believe me and Matt talked about this. Michael Venom Page was just a lot cleaner with the strikes. He was definitely getting a good advantage of Ian during that fight. I do believe Ian tried to get a takedown. I don't think it worked in that first round. The first round was definitely Michael. The second round, excuse me, was definitely Michael Venom Page's
Yeah, remember he
fight.
stuffed it because Michael ended up on top of him.
Yeah,
Yep, that's exactly what it
that is
was.
true.
He stuffed it, and Michael Venom Page was on top. There was a struggle at first, but Michael Venom Page did let him up. Um, and then, of course, going into the third round, which was the deciding factor, Ian stuck to the jujitsu. I believe that was the round where he grabbed Michael Venom Page's back and just kind of just held him. Um, and just giving Ian the victory. I know I like my numbers. Ian through this battle had 65 out of 101 total strikes, 19 out of 39 significant strikes, 2 takedowns out of 5, and 2 submission attempts. Those 2 submission attempts were in the first round, I believe. He tried to get a rear naked choke. It was both rear naked chokes, weren't they?
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Michael Venom Page, 52 out of 74 total strikes. So Michael Venom Page was definitely the more efficient striker. Ian had 64% total strikes. MVP had 70. His significant strikes, which is crazy. Like I said, Ian had 19 out of 39. MVP had 21 out of 38. So MVP was definitely the better striker. In fact, I
hmm,
would say that Ian probably got most of his strikes while he was on the ground with MVP.
yeah. He
Uh,
was throwing those elbows off his
yeah,
back and shit. Yeah,
yeah. Once again, MVP was definitely the better striker. It was the ground game. It was the grappling and the ground game that made the big difference in this fight. Very smart move on Ian's part. If you know somebody just has better hands than you, why the fuck would you try to like throw with them? Um, yeah. It was a cool fight. Um, I'd be interested if there was more, if they had a couple more rounds to see what would happen.
yeah.
But yeah, Ian Gary won. Was it a split decision or was it unanimous? I can't remember.
He won a split.
Unanimous.
Oh no, he got a unanimous. My
Yeah, it
bad.
wasn't
He
split.
everybody gave MVP the second round, but he won rounds 1 and 3.
Now that's fucking wild. I don't think it was unanimous. I do think Gary won, but it was definitely split. He did not win that second round. Um, this is also one of those cases where we talk about where we, just understanding how grappling fits into the scorecard. Um, Ian definitely did have more control of the fight because he had MVP in the grapple. But MVP definitely had better strikes. And it's funny because I think it's very rare that judges choose the grappling element over the striking.
Man, how many times have we talked about how they don't weigh grappling like that, right? And
Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
this is one of those few instances where they did.
And then to top it off, yeah, Ian had more strikes, but Michael Venom Page was definitely more efficient with his.
Mm.
We've never seen a case like that where we can say like, yo, like, yeah, you hit more, but it wasn't wasn't as
The
effective.
effectiveness of those strikes were the weight was different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah, Ian won, and he definitely building himself up to, just getting a title shot. I don't think Michael Venom Page lost anything in his fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He looked strong throughout it, and if I mean, like at the end of the day, a loss is a loss, but you can make the argument that this, I mean, just like a battle plan could just make a big difference. I'm going to pass this along to TJ.
My thoughts or the next fight, because I think Matt's got next fight because I got to
Whatever you want to
cover.
do.
But in terms of my thoughts, man, I thought Venom Page got robbed.
Oh, really?
Personally, yeah. Well, I know he didn't get robbed. I just wanted him to win because the thing about Ian Machado Gary is that if he just didn't talk,
Damn. Damn.
like if he just didn't talk, you could get on board the Ian Machado Gary train. But there's just something about him that like Takamura and Hajime no Ippo is the best example of this. But there
Mm-hmm.
are other people that fall in this trope where it's like, you are clearly a talented individual. You work hard, but you open your mouth and you just kill all that by the words you say.
You're ruining it.
Yeah,
You're just ruining it.
like that is what I feel like Ian Machado Gary does every time he like hops on the mic. But with that being said, I mean, MVP clearly was a better striker. I mean, he turned Ian Machado Gary into a fucking wrestler last night, right? Um, I just like I think what this has shown though is that MVP doesn't really have an answer for grappling. Now, he managed to survive that first round rear naked choke attempt, but as far as like grappling basics go in terms of rear naked choke defense, all the decisions he made were wrong.
Mm.
Like all of them. Even the way he was defending the choke was like he might have gotten lucky, or he might just be that much stronger than Machado Garrett to the fact that he could just like strength himself out of a choke.
Just get up.
Right, right. Like he's like, hey, I studied under Derek Lewis. Um, but like, yeah, even toward the end, it's like DC, Joe Rogan, even John Anik were like, why isn't he just trying to shake this nigga off his back? Because the way Machado Gary was posted up on his back, it's like he was like if they were standing upright, like Machado Gary would have been too high to be able to do choke. So it's like if you're in a situation like that where you're essentially kind of ups like the nigga on your back is upside down, it's like you just try to shake them off, right? Like shake them off, hopefully they fall. If you don't want to jump and do a somersault, because then you're actually just helping them get to your back. But if you can shake them off, they drop in front of you, then you end up in a position where you're on top, right? So ideally, right, that's how it would have gone. But I'm gonna pass the mic over to Matt real quick.
You definitely changed my opinion on something I was gonna say. I was actually gonna give I was gonna give MVP more credit, but that is also why we have all of us doing this show together because it takes a grappler to explain. I knew that there were things he was doing wrong, but obviously, I don't understand what I'm looking at as far as grappling either. I felt like he was able to keep, and this is really the only thing I'll say because I felt like you guys covered everything pretty well. I felt like he was able to keep Ian Gary from being effective to a degree, but I do agree with you in the way that that's still a weakness of his. But I do think he kind of was able to nullify. He was able to nullify the actions, but I don't think he was able to really produce anything. Um, and that's just gonna kind of be the case. He's 37, and I mean, this is a
Mm.
guy who has spent the vast majority of his life doing one art specifically. So that's going to kind of be a harder wrinkle for him to add. It's a wrinkle he's going to need, but all we
That's
can do
it.
is see, it's all we can do. But I'm all good on that. We can, if y'all ready to go to the next one.
Ooh.
Yes, no, yay, nay.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's
Yeah.
TJ, you
go.
there? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
let's go.
All right. Well, our next one we had Myra Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson. Chiasson. Did I say it right?
I usually go Chasson, but
Chasson. I'm
I'm
gonna
not
say
sure.
Chasson.
I'm not sure.
Well, I'm gonna do you. I ain't gonna say that. I was about to say something hella ignorant. I'm not gonna say that though. So
Appreciate you,
this is a
dog.
women's. This is a women's bantamweight fight. Um, like I said, women's bantamweight fight. Myra Bueno Silva has really been making a name for herself lately. At least within their division, just kind of being in fights, like being the girl that gets called, pulls up, shows up when it's time. That's pretty much that. On the other end, we have Macy, who his I feel was somewhat in the same position, and then we kind of saw her fall off the map for a little bit. And then she has popped back up, which we found out recently it was due to an injury. She took about a year off.
Apparently was
Um,
just like in the hyperbolic time chamber.
clearly, which we really see with not only this performance but her last performance as well back in March. Um, at any rate, we'll get back to that. So Myra Bueno Silva was looking to kind of get back into the winner's circle after losing a decision to Raquel Pennington for the women's bantamweight championship. You know what I'm saying? So she's coming right up fresh. She's fresh off of a title fight, within their division. And that's where Macy Chiasson is, aiming to get is within that title picture. And I think she made a really good case for herself last night. Um, Macy was all over this girl in the first round.
Yeah.
At least as far as her footwork and her movement was concerned. Myra was able to slow her down a little bit, kind of towards the back end of that first round. She was able to slow it down just a little bit, get a little bit of clinch work in, work her body with some knees, work her body with some punches. But that first round was the Macy show. I think she exhibited really, really good footwork. I think she presented herself in a very good way, I felt, throughout that first round. And really just had Macy following her around the cage and just accepting whatever was coming. Macy was fighting uh almost like a Andrade, sort of like just looking for the big shot. And that's not to say Jessica always does that, but that is a bit of a hallmark of hers, is like lining you up for that big hook. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
so there's that. And then the second round, there's a little bit of a grappling exchange where Macy ends up on top. And through the hand fighting, she's able to land a really big elbow that immediately starts gushing blood. And I mean, obviously, we're as fans and whatnot, we're a bit desensitized to it. So it wasn't that crazy, at least, as we saw it. And eventually the referee stops the fight once they eventually work their way back up to a standing position. And when the doctor takes a look at this cut is way worse than we, like I would say as fans, as any of us could have expected that cut to be. And ultimately the fight is stopped, and the winner of the fight is Macy Chiasson. So looks like she'll be lined up for a title fight against Raquel Pennington, something I'm definitely looking Raquel Pennington, which is a fight I would actually really be looking forward to, considering both of their fighting styles and their builds and things of that nature. Because Macy's tall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She's 5'11". She's not short. Um, I think that I just think she can present a pretty interesting problem for the champion. And that's not to say that she'll beat her, but Raquel Pennington isn't known as a striker either. You get what I'm saying? That's
Mm.
not really where her game lies. But I'll leave it at that, and I will pass it to TJ.
Myra Bueno Silva hits hard,
Yeah.
but Macy Chasson apparently needs to be checked for razor blades in her elbow, because what the fuck was that, man?
Yeah.
Anyway, y'all cool if I carry us over to Matt's favorite fight, Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze?
So
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I don't like that tone. I'm scared of that
So
tone.
at 205, we got
I'm scared.
Anthony
Oh,
Smith,
okay. Okay. All right,
former
so
title
oh my God.
challenger.
Okay. So we got Anthony Smith on the one side, we got Roma Dolidze on the other side. The funny thing is, I think Roman wasn't the original opponent. He came in on a week's notice, which is always a gamble, but man,
Oh, he danced in on a week's notice.
it paid off. This is what I'm gonna say. Uh okay, so you know how I've been doing like picks lately, right? Like fight picks. I
Mm-hmm.
explained this last week. I didn't believe in my pick of Anthony Smith, and I'm sure y'all have heard enough of the broadcast to know, or at least know us well enough to know why I didn't believe in my pick of Anthony Smith. But I thought, at least if it's
Interesting.
someone who's unranked, he could do fairly well against.
I just want you to
Boy,
know.
was I wrong.
I just want you to know Matt is giving you the most severe side eye
I
right
can
now.
feel it. I
Yeah.
can feel it. The reason, because like he's not like he doesn't do well against anybody who's ranked. So like I was like, all right, Roma Dolidze is trying to climb up in the rankings, and now he's like in the rankings in two different weight classes, right? Top 10, but spoiler alert, Roma Dolidze won. But like, man, it was just the Roma Dolidze show featuring Anthony Smith, I guess. Like Anthony just did he even really prep for his fight? Like he didn't look like very fit at all, to be honest. Like he didn't even try to really grapple Roman like that. Like Roman was just like you can even see the differential in power. And Roman was not bigger than Anthony Smith, but Roman Dolidze was hitting him with the kitchen sink. I'll give Anthony Smith the fact that he has a chin, but it's like, bruh, first two rounds were just a steamrolling, and then last round, Dolidze was starting to gas out, and like Anthony Smith was starting to fight, starting to, but even then, it wasn't enough to do any real damage. It was still the Dolidze show. Dolidze ended up getting that unanimous decision win, rightfully so. And Anthony Smith, like I don't even know. I'm assuming he's gonna drop. I don't know if he drops out of the rankings, but he's definitely gonna drop a spot or two. Um, that was that. That was
That
that.
was that.
I'm just safely pass the mic over to Bryce.
Yeah, I think you covered it.
Mm.
Uh-oh.
Anthony Anthony didn't have an answer for anything. He did put up a good fight. But it's
No, he didn't,
crazy that he
Bryce.
got gassed and
He didn't put up a good fight, man. He didn't.
That's Bryce's opinion. Bryce thought he did.
he put up as much of a fight as he could. Um, Look, I'm not gonna take anything away from Anthony Smith because he did
What you
step
gonna give
up.
him?
He did step up
Mm-hmm.
after the craziness of this card. People kept dropping like flies. Everybody just falling out. He came. All right, he did it. Um,
Do we
so
know that he that this was some last minute shit or what?
Yeah, there was some shenanigans because we know at
yeah,
least Delize came in off
it
a
was
week.
supposed. Oh, my bad. What are you gonna say, TJ?
No, I said Delize got this fight on a week's notice, right? I don't know if that was the case for Anthony Smith. Was he the original? Were they the
It was
original?
supposed to be Jamal Hill versus Roundtree.
Oh, right,
Roundtree got
right.
out, then Jamal was supposed to fight somebody else. Jamal got out, then Dude was supposed to fight somebody else. And then I think that dude fell out, and so Anthony Smith took it.
Okay. The UFC was like, man, we're out of options.
Call him. Call him. That's what they said. So yeah, he stepped up. Um, it's a I mean like it's a win-win situation. People ain't really gonna look at you any
He
type of way.
replaced Carlos Ulberg, who was supposed to be fighting Anthony Smith.
Uh,
Oh, so Anthony
Who
Smith would have
Anthony
lost
Smith initially was fighting Carlos
regardless.
Ulberg. Carlos Ulberg got moved up to fight Jamal Hill because of the Khalil Roundtree thing, and then obviously Carlos didn't even end up fighting on this card. Neither did Khalil, neither did Jamal. Everything just went left.
yeah.
I looked it up, sorry, while we was going through it.
But yeah. Um, It's nothing really much to say. It just is what it is.
30, 27, 29, 28. So
Damn it, man. I'm not passing it to you.
you don't have to.
He's like, I'm gonna take that shit. Uh, Bryce, you want to take us into Dan Ige versus Diego Lopez, co-main?
Do it. Let's do it.
I just want to say one thing.
Uh-oh.
This is for Roman Dolidze. He made an excellent point that he's top 10 in 2 weight classes. It was weird that he called out Hamzat, but like he is ranked number 10 at middleweight, and he did just beat the number 10 dude at light heavyweight. So that's a thing. That's a shout out Roman Dolidze. But fighting is a funny game, man. The ups and downs of all this shit is really insane. That Roman Dolidze is like the number 10 middleweight beats the number 10 dude at light heavyweight, and it's like he's coming off a loss.
Oh,
Roman Dolidze is coming off 2 losses, and he's top 10 in 2 divisions. But when you look at the guys he beat, you understand why he was top 10 at middleweight. Who he beat and how he beat him. Then it makes sense why he's in that ranking there. But I don't know. Shit, you should stay at 205. But whatever. We can go to the next one. Get no fuck.
Hilarious. Okay. This is the co-main. It was originally supposed to be T-City, Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. But a last minute change. Brian Ortega was sick, so Dan Ige had to step in. So we got Dan Ige versus Diego Lopez at a catchweight fight. And you know what? Despite the fact that this wasn't planned, this was a great fight. This was a banger. Both men came out swinging, just putting power to each other. And Diego Lopez came out on top. He was just the more aggressive fighter. His hits were just a little bit was definitely connecting, and just like that ground game, that jujitsu was scary. That shit was scary. The way he could just transition on the ground. Clearly, Diego Lopez won, but let's get into it. Which is very interesting how the fight played out. So the first round, both fighters filling each other out. Diego Lopez was definitely the more aggressive of the two in that first round, but I think Diego Lopez kind of paid for that later. But I'll go into that. He was piecing up Dan. Dan had some good shots here and there. They were definitely catching each other with some good shots. I was actually surprised that Diego Lopez was just so able to take the shots. I don't know if it was the first round or the second round where Diego Lopez just ate a kick from Dan Ige to the face.
Yeah, tried to change it into a takedown.
Yep, changed it. He got him down, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he got him down, and then that was Diego. Dan stayed on the ground. He stayed on the ground with Diego. Diego was just holding him. But Dan is a fighter. That was crazy. I've never seen someone like throw some banging hits just to Diego's face while he's like countering a rear naked choke. Like, that was crazy. I know Diego felt those. Dan really did a really good job fighting off Diego from the ground, which says a lot. But still, the jiu-jitsu definitely made a big difference in the fight. Diego definitely took control of the first and second rounds. But he definitely started to get tired towards the end of the second, and then he was fighting the clock for that third. He was still in it for a little bit, but the more and more it came through, Dan Ige started to connect more. Those shots became a lot more clearer, and I didn't think he could knock out Diego, because I mean he took that kick to the face. He just ate it. But definitely a good showing by Dan, especially just coming in last minute.
Yeah, his stock doesn't go down.
His stock doesn't go down at all. If anything, I'm definitely excited to see Dan Ige again. And if they did run it back with some preparation, maybe that'd be something different. Dan Ige coming in with a plan from Diego. especially if he knows he can outlast him with the gas tank, or if they do like a 5-round fight. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just all around banger. This is definitely my favorite fight of the card. I will pass this along to I'll pass along to TJ.
No, this was also my favorite fight on the card. But apparently, so I thought this was I was like the commentators too. I thought Diego was just like doing something weird, but he got punched in the throat early on in the match. So it's like, it's like every time he'd like throw a combo or something like that, he'd back up and then like kind of touch his Adam's apple. I thought he was like touching his chin or some shit, maybe taunting Dan Ige. I'm like, nigga, that ain't the person you want to taunt. But yeah, he got punched in the throat in round one, which is crazy considering how hard Dan Ige hits. Like that ain't the like, did he pop his Adam's apple in the round? Anyway, that was a really good fight. Like a really good fight.
Yeah.
Diego Lopez, like I feel like I heard online, I was like just seeing some rumblings that people were kind of looking down on Diego Lopez's hands, but it's like folks got to remember, like yeah, I heard like some people kind of looking down on Diego Lopez's hands. Like, remember, he took the super out of Sadiq Yusuf. Sadiq Yusuf is now regular Sadiq, right? And the other thing we have, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think I understand the reasoning behind it too. I don't agree with it. It's not pretty.
It's not pretty. No,
it isn't pretty, but it's like
technically apt. It's very technically apt, but it's ugly to look at.
Right.
It looks like a rush.
They said it looks. Diego causes car accidents when he punches, but he can see through that chaos. He's just a chaotic striker. Plus, he's not necessarily a bad striker. He's just chaotic.
He constantly finds a home for his uppercut. Like when he hits with that barrage of hooks. Yeah.
TJ, I know there's a guy in your gym that is probably does some of the ugliest jiu-jitsu you see, but he effective as hell. And it's just like, Jesus, like, the answer, I don't know how this works.
The methodology was wrong, but the answer was correct, dog.
Yeah, the answer was correct. It's like somehow you got 24 still. I don't know how you hit that, but you found it.
But it's like, but we also have to keep in mind too, he trains with the Grassos. He comes out of Los Lobos.
Yes, Los Lobos.
Got hands, man. But hey, I said this with Bryce once, but like barring any fucked up tweets, he's becoming one of my favorite fighters. But like if the tweet allegations come out, I might have to let him go. Like, because that's the world we live in now. But yeah, I'll pass it over to Matt.
I'll just say this. I'm always impressed by Dan Ige. I'm always impressed by all of the fighters that we see come out of that Lobos gym. Everybody there seemingly is, at least the ones that make it to the UFC, they are all incredible fighters. They all can clearly really, really box. I give an immense amount of credit to both guys because, for one, this was Diego Lopez's second opponent. And two, Dan Ige was getting a massage and decided to step up and fight a guy in a division he does not compete in.
Crazy.
They fought at a catchweight that Dan Ige wouldn't have fought at in the first fucking place. Let's keep in mind, Dan Ige fights at 145. Dan Ige is a featherweight. He's not a middleweight. He's not a welterweight. He is not a lightweight. Dan Ige is a featherweight fighter. Let's keep that in mind. And on 8 hours' notice, he stepped up and fought a guy.
I think it was even less than that, bro. I think it was 4 hours.
He said it was 8.
Oh, word? My bad.
I don't know. I'm not. It could have been, but it was 8 hours in total from the call to preparation to all right, I'm gonna go do this fight.
Right. How the fuck did he even prepare?
The call probably came in 8 hours, and he probably had 4 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Could have been something like that. But also going back to what Bryce said, Dan Ige, I also believe is strong as shit. So I mean, that's very evident based off when you see him fight and just the way his strikes land. He's just one of those guys that's really, really fucking strong. Some guys are just blessed with that type of power in their hands.
Yeah.
And Bryce brought up a good point about how you could see the effectiveness of his hands even when he was being grappled.
Yeah.
Now, Again, I want to go back to this catchweight thing. Keep in mind, the last time we saw Dan Ige was in February when he fought Andre Feely.
I was gonna say he killed that man.
It killed him in the first round at featherweight again, mind you, featherweight 45. So to fight a guy that also competes at a higher weight class, but has every physical advantage over you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're 5'7", he's 5'11". You know what I'm saying? What are we doing here? So ultimately, I thought this fight was great. It was my second favorite fight on the card, I'll say.
Well, do you want to take us into your favorite one?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We had our main event with a guy that I think just became the face of the company. With a guy I'm pretty sure just took over the UFC as the new face. We had Alex Pereira against against Yuri Prochazka. This was our new main event after Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler fell through. This was also a rematch that came a lot earlier, I think, than anybody had expected, but thankfully everybody was ready for it. This fight was at 205. This was a tale, not even of 2 rounds. This was the same fight almost. It was virtually the same fight. Alex came in. I think Yuri Prochazka, like he said, he definitely did do a lot less. As far as extra preparation and things that he just did in the ring during the walkout and stuff like that, he definitely held off on a lot of that. But to the adverse of that, the result was virtually the same. Alex beat Yuri Prochazka the first time in the second round with a TKO via elbows. It was late in the second, and he beat him this time within the first 13 seconds of the second round with a head kick. This was after dropping him with a left hook at the very end of the first round, which I thought Yuri was going to make it out of. Yuri has a very interesting and awkward style, but to be honest with you, especially right now, I believe, and I would even say given his last 2 performances, which unfortunately one of those last 2 performances does include Yuri Prochazka. He has this aura of invincibility about him right now. And a lot of fighters get it at a certain point when they reach a level. And I think right now we're in the phase where he has his air of invincibility. It never felt like Yuri Prochazka was effective.
How do you knock a nigga out on broken toes, nigga?
Come on. It never felt like he was effective at any point. It felt like, to me, it felt like Yuri was surviving that first round. He was doing a lot of the stuff that he usually does, but he was getting hit. And he got wobbled at least twice before that left hand put him down. That left hook dropped him at the end of the first round. And the way he was out, it was almost like, man, I don't know how we're going to get into this second round.
Over.
Yeah, we all thought it was
Herb
over.
hovered over them for a while.
Yeah, we
Herb
all thought he was done.
Back to his stool.
Helped him back to his stool 13 seconds into that second round. I feel like it was the first strike Alex threw. Head kick.
It was.
Out of there.
It was the only strike he threw. Well, no, that's not true. He followed up.
Yeah. Followed it up. But yeah, man, that was the main event. The champion at 205 is still Alex Pereira. Their rumor, maybe he wants to go up to heavyweight. I still think, hey, calm your ass down. But
he still looks really big even for light heavyweight, which is, again, how did he make middleweight, bro?
Listen, he does. And this is all I'll say. I'm for it. I think he can still do it. I'm just saying slow down because, yeah, he looked big.
You got too much dip on your chip now.
Yeah, come on. He looked big. How big he going to look against somebody that size? Because regardless, especially within the UFC right now, 230 ain't really making him that big a guy for heavyweight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially now, if he ain't got to cut weight, shit like that, hey, who knows? Who knows how big he'll get? But would Alex Pereira look big next to Cyril Gane? No.
Right. That's a good question. Yeah.
Sergey Pavlovich? No.
The White and Gane?
Curtis Blades? Yeah. Waganu? No. Volkov? Obviously not.
Absolutely
7
not.
feet tall.
Right. Right.
Stipe? No. Jailton Almeida, no.
No.
Martian Tybura, no. It's like he's not bigger than anybody in the top 10.
Tyson wasn't a big heavyweight.
You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. We've seen
Actually on the
him
smaller
spar
end,
heavyweights. We've seen him spar heavyweight before, but again, I think when you get to the upper echelon within that division, that motherfucker being 230, 240, that's not gonna matter.
Hmm.
You know, I think power carries to a point, and again, hey, he could be a guy that really should just be a heavyweight, but also what we look at a lot of times when we look at a guy that we like, and it's like, man, he should move up, he's strong, this and that, is taking that shot too.
Hmm.
Can you take in the shot and give in the shot? You can give a 260-pound guy a shot, you might drop him. What if that motherfucker hit you though?
Right.
What happens if Sergey can press the button, if Pavlovich can hit the button on Pereira? Because it's hard for me to believe if he can be flatlined by a 185er, a heavyweight can't do that to him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and listen, like we know he beat Israel, but Israel put him out flat. Like he was like, you know what I'm saying? He was ragdoll when Israel caught him.
Off of that hip punch that Israel does.
Yeah, off that hook. And that shit obviously got some heat on it because he didn't got Robert with that bitch too.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, if a guy at 185 can do that, and Israel at 205 didn't look like he should have been at 205. He looked like a 185er that was at 205.
Right.
Kind of like how Silva did. It's just kind of a build thing. I think heavyweight is too much dip on his chip, but I would be interested to see him try it.
Yeah.
I think if you can match it correctly, I think it could be done if he's matched correctly. But like then we're getting into the territory of like, how do you correctly match him?
Maybe against like a Rosenstrike.
I think it's a bad idea. They're both high level kickboxers. His weight classes for a reason.
Right.
Rosenstrike. Think about the guys Rosenstrike has fought. Like, does Alex hit as hard as Francis Ngannou? Because Rosenstrike is also a one-touch guy. He go in there and just start swinging. You don't know what could happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe he could get with Spivak. Maybe. But Spivak's a big-ass dude.
Or you run it to like, what's that Brazilian dude, a Curtis, that'll grab your ass? What you gonna do?
Yeah, you run into Curtis or, Jailton Almeida.
Yeah.
Stipe, like you said, Curtis. You know, like I said, Sadil. You know, when I'm looking at that whole top 15 is significantly bigger than Alex.
Right.
If the nigga can do it, I think he should, because truth be told, if he can continue what he's doing, he has a real case for being, not even if he continues to, he already has the case for being one of the greatest UFC signings of all time. And considering how many fights he hasn't had 10 UFC fights.
Yeah.
That's insane.
He has not had 10 fights in the division, and he only has 13 professional MMA fights.
Right.
Has he been, is he in the pound for pound?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, he in the pound for pound. I think, it'll be interesting to see where he moves, because as we're talking about it right now, he's sitting at number 4. And, you know, those rankings come out on Tuesdays. The 3 people in front of him are Leon Edwards, John Jones, and Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, name one person that don't belong there.
And to also make a case for Alex, this was short notice. He wasn't supposed to do this fight at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and Yuri is not a short notice dude. I wouldn't take that fight short notice. I really wouldn't take any UFC guy short notice, but definitely not a former interim champion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Definitely not a guy of that level. So, I don't know. In fact, he's not the vacant champion. He's the real champion. I forgot. Yuri actually has been the UFC champion before.
He vacated the belt, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, he vacated it. He beat Glover.
So it's not even a question anymore. He beat Jamal and Yuri.
Yeah, because he beat Glover and he vacated it because remember he got like that freak injury that was going to take him off the belt out of fighting for like a long time.
Yeah.
Because he didn't fight for a long time, Bryce. After he beat,
when there were some rumblings about him and Jamal running it when Jamal got the belt off of Glover, and you was like, "I'll be back."
Yeah, because he never got a chance to defend his title when he beat Glover. Glover won the belt. he beat Glover, and then so he beat Glover in June of 2022. He didn't fight again until November of 2023. And that was when he lost to Alex. He beat Rakic, and then he rematched Alex. So,
Right.
but he was the real champion. He wasn't the interim. He had it for real. He had the real belt. Because Glover won the real title off of who he beat? Glover beat Jan. He took it off Jan.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Glover took it off Jan, and then he lost it to Yuri, and then he fought for the vacant belt again against Jamal, and then he lost to Jamal, and that was how Jamal became the light heavyweight champion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 205 is I'll say this just in general. I think overall with fighting as a whole, we have been really blessed this year. We've been getting a lot of really good fights, both boxing and MMA. And I would also say that this is across all divisions. I think this is the best the UFC has ever been as far as the top of all their divisions being competitive. The top of every single division, I think, is interchangeable. If you look at the rankings for any of them, any division, I think the top guys are interchangeable with the exception of, like, for me personally, maybe like flyweight, because Alexander Pantoja is,
he's fighting a different battle.
Alexandre Pantoja.
He's fighting a different battle.
Because his top five is like a lot of unproven guys. But like Sean O'Malley got Mirab behind him, Corey Sandhagen, Peter Yan, Marlon Vera, and Henry Cejudo. What the fuck?
Well, I don't know if I would say Henry Cejudo is a
Henry for
contender. Yeah, I don't think he's a
that's
contender.
okay. But look. Okay, if you scratch Henry Cejudo, you know who's right behind him? Davison Figueiredo.
Okay.
Okay. That motherfucker got he gotta learn. He gotta learn to put a little gas in the tank.
No, but this is Figueiredo. Listen, Bryce, we're talking about. I said bantamweight, not flyweight. Remember, Figueiredo left flyweight. He's not at flyweight no more. That's why I said the flyweight division kind of thin now. He gone. He went upstairs. Well, we're not even gonna talk about featherweight. We're not even gonna talk about featherweight. That's where all the killers reside. We're not even gonna talk about that. Same thing with lightweight. We don't got to talk about that top five.
Nah.
Welterweight, where Leon is the champion, his top five is Kamaru, Bilal, Rachmaninoff, Colby Covington, and Jack Della Maddalena.
How the fuck is Colby still in the top five?
He's number 4. He hasn't fought. And a lot of people around him haven't fought. When the guys around you don't fight, that helps you. When the last time you seen Bilal, that's going to move once he fights Leon. Kamaru ain't fought in a long time, and Rachmaninoff earned that spot over him with the last fight he got. He moved Colby down.
Yeah.
Middleweight, Sean Strickland, Israel, Robert Whitaker, Imavov, and Cannonier. That's the top 5 behind Dricus.
Cannonier still in it. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That last one, though.
And we already talked about what all is standing at light heavyweight earlier. Heavyweight is crazy. All the women's divisions are like going good as well. Like, I think this is kind of the best era we've at least had, as far as the champions and as far as the challenges and stuff, because now it's not like, oh, well, obviously this dude gonna run through with everybody, or obviously this woman is just gonna run through everybody. Like, we don't know.
Yeah,
I think Alexa Grasso the truth, but like can she beat all the girls lined up for her? MMA math ain't perfect. You can beat Valentina Shevchenko and lose to motherfucking Manon Farrow.
Yeah.
It's interesting to have championship fights where you just don't know. Because it's been a lot of title changes. It's been a lot of title changes. And a lot of fighters, we're starting to see that transition again. Like new people in the top 5, and a lot of people kind of leaving out a little bit, a little transitioning. Dustin, he's probably gonna do more like commentating bros. Justin, I don't know. I can see Justin doing a couple fights, but with Justin's probably like Dustin. If it ain't for a belt, what's the point?
Right.
Yeah, it's.
But even in that, bro, it's still fights out there for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we talking about lightweight, who's in the top 10 at lightweight that fucking shouldn't even be there anyway? Max.
Nah, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? Max Holloway is in your division too, if he really want to be.
Yeah.
And he could go back to his division that if you, man, that if I gotta, we should do that as a topic one day. Sorry, I know I don't mean to be free flowing on everybody on our podcast, but we really need to talk about what might be pound for pound the most competitive division in the UFC. Because right now I'm looking at all their rankings, and featherweight looks insane. Featherweight looks impossible.
Man, good.
13, 14, and 15 at featherweight are Dan Ige, Diego Lopez, and Edson Barbosa. That's the bottom half of featherweight.
Oh shit.
Fuck.
Hard mode.
Edson Barbosa, it's he can always knock you the fuck out.
Bryce,
There's
Edson
no
Barbosa
question.
is the floor at 45.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
crazy.
saying. The floor is the guy that if he gets that one kick, you're out.
You mean the leg or the head?
I think only one person was ever able to just eat that kick. Who was it? I can't remember who it was.
And whoever ate the kick probably don't remember they ate it.
Exactly.
So.
I fought Edson Barbosa. What the fuck I do that? Bro, you won. Really? Damn.
Nigga looking at their own record like, when was this?
He watched the fight. Oh, yeah, okay. Hey, I won though. I ain't doing that again. Fuck that.
What was everybody's favorite fight?
I said it was Dan Ige versus
Lopez Ige.
Lopez Ige?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Lopez Ige too. I think the Chasson fight was a close one. Really, the close one for me was Pereira and Yuri, but I felt like Pereira was just in such control.
Yeah,
that was a close fight.
No. I was saying it was close in terms of what was my favorite.
Was your favorite fight? I was like, what?
Yeah, no, not competitively, no. Yeah, I agree with y'all. Next week,
no UFC.
We don't have UFC. Oh, you're right. We don't have UFC next week, but we got boxing next week.
Yeah.
Next week we have who is Shakur going up against? I am so sorry. I should have had this up in my notes. I apologize. Next week we have in Newark, New Jersey, the homecoming of Shakur Stevenson against Artem Harutyunyan. This is for Stevenson's WBC lightweight title. He's doing a hometown title defense. And the co-main event on that is also going to be Oshaki Foster defending his title against Hobson Conceição. We also got Keyshawn Davis on this card. So definitely looking forward to this one. We also got Abdullah Mason fighting on this card as well. So we will definitely be covering that. And also on the boxing side, we will have, believe it or not, Nate Diaz versus George Masvidal. That is also happening in Anaheim, California. And that is also taking place next weekend, July 6th as well. So next week we will be covering Shakur versus Artem Harutyunyan and Nate Diaz versus George Masvidal. I am definitely positive that I completely butchered that guy's name that is fighting Shakur Stevenson. Other than that, that's all we'll be covering as far as combat next week. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. This has been another episode of the Now Mind You Podcast Combat Edition. You can follow us all on social media. You can follow me at Matt Hambrick. That's MATTHAMBRIC TJ.
Y'all can find me on Instagram at Tuss4Skate. That's TUSS4__SKATE. Bryce.
Y'all can find me on Instagram at Ashe_Onsa. That's AXE_ONCA. What? Bay. Y'all knew I was
Remix.
You can follow us all at Now Mind You Podcast, wherever you like to get your podcast, wherever you like to get your social media. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. It feels so good to be back with everybody, and we will see you guys next week. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.